Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the VADSBC show live. And we're happy to have you here today. Oh, yeah. With a little bit of Bob Marley letting you know that we love you all. We're glad to have you all back here on the VADSBC show live. And I'm here flying solo, but my good co-host, Aaron Porcher, the Louisiana Democratic Small Business Chair, will be here shortly. So we're working with a smaller production staff, but it's just me, and I'm glad to have you back. Glad to have you here. Oop, got to close my door. Let me close my door real quick. Oh, there we go. I'm back, rolling around live in the studio. Folks, we got a great show for you today. We're going to cover all the things we love to cover. But first, I want to just welcome you back. It's good to have everybody back. It's good to have everybody here. You small business owners, you Democrats and soon to be business owners, and just basically folks who want to support the show. You're fantastic, and I love you, and I'm glad to see that you're back. But guess what? Today is Woke Wednesday. It's Woke Wednesday, and Woke Wednesday means you can't be asleep because the Democrats got stuff out there for you to do. And when we have things out there for you to do, you got to stay awake because there's a lot going on in Virginia and across the country. That's why the Virginia Democratic Small Business Caucus, along with my special guest that we're going to have on today, and we do have a special guest for you today, someone who's been getting it done for Democrats for a real long time. So folks, stay steady and hang in there. We're going to bring that special guest on a little bit later today. And if you clicked on it, you know that we're going to have on Miss Mary Payton. But we're going to bring Mary on later on during the show. She's just been a great Democrat for many years and an activist taking care of things. And she's definitely woke. It's been staying woke for a long time. But let me tell you what else is going on. First, I want to let you know that I'm always going to talk to you about COVID. Until we get this thing put away and done, we're going to keep telling you, folks, please, if you haven't gotten your vaccination, if you do intend to get the vaccination, go ahead and get it. If you haven't made up your mind, go ahead and give a little more thought to it. The government has lots of places out there. There's lots of good information from other great sources that you can depend on and believe. Get your shots, get your vaccination. Let's put COVID to bed so we have other things that we need to concentrate on. Plus, we love you here at VADSBC, and we need to make sure that you guys are, I just noticed that my, oh boy, there's always something going on here, and I gotta do more than one thing at once. And don't get me trying to multitask. As you see my head turn to the other direction, which means I have an email that I have to check real quick just to make sure that I have the information that I need. Oh, there it is. Stay with me 1 second, folks. One quick second as I do this real quick. I got to get my co-host on the air. Can't do it without her. Okay, there it is. And boom, there it is. Aaron's going to be coming in quickly. Hey, so what I wanted to get back to you about, if you haven't gotten your shot yet, please get your shot. And the other thing I want you to know that there's other sources out there that are sources you can rely on. Right now, it's clear that people where this terrible COVID virus and this coronavirus is spreading is in places where people mostly have not been vaccinated. So get it done. We love you. We want to see that you stay out here with your family. I don't care what side of the aisle you sit on. This is all about family. It's about love, and it's about keeping you here. We're going to continue to disagree on some things, but there's a lot of stuff we do agree on, and we're going to talk about that today. It's one of the fastest shows we have. We are on once a week. We do it for 1 hour, and we cover the same sort of things every week. And we are going to continue to do this until we take care of some of these things. So I just want to let you know that, oh, wait a minute, I've got someone else who's coming in who's going to come into the show. Erin is here. So she doesn't need me to bring her in. When she gets ready to come in, she's going to come right into the stream. So what I do want to tell you is, folks, get those shots. It's very important. Again, our show is informal. It's informative. And there's Erin. See how we can just pop people onto the screen all of a sudden, boom, they're here.
Hey, Mark. Hey, everybody.
Okay, you're back, Erin. We're back. And she's back to make us look good and do all the proper things we should be doing. But most of all, it's not how we look, it's what we have to say. And I was just getting ready to say to everybody, Erin, we're informative, we're informal, and we want to be engaging, and we want to be fun. We want to provide information that people can use, things that they need to get done to make their lives better in order to make sure that the mission we have here as Democrats gets accomplished, and they know what things they're looking at. So we're going to keep going down that lane. But just a minute, I'm going to back up for a minute. So boom, back to Aaron. And Aaron, guess what? What's going on? The chair down there in Louisiana Democratic Small Business Caucus. Anything you got to intro yourself with or say anything? You know, we have time for you. I always got time for you, Aaron.
Sure thing. Thanks so much, Mark. I appreciate it. It's always good to be here on the show and, you know, just really connecting with small business, like you said, bringing them some practical information and insights so that they can take their life and their business to the next level. You know, always appreciate all of the value that you bring to the show, as well as all of our guests. So really looking forward to a great show today.
Okay, Aaron, thank you for all that. You don't have to say all that back. You're trying to make me blush. You know, it's hard to make me blush. But anyway, thank you, Aaron, for those kind words. And thank you for being back on the show. And Aaron, I was just going to start talking about voting in Virginia, you know, and talking about the election coming up and talking about what people need to do to make sure that their ballot is being cast. And one of the things we always go to next is voting rights. That's right. I keep hammering on it because it's not done yet. We need to make sure that the voting rights legislation gets passed, and the voting rights legislation for HR 1 and for HR 4 gets done. You need to call your congressperson. You need to tell them, listen, voting rights legislation is important. And in HR 1, we need to be able to tell people that HR 1 is basically covering the For the Act people. Just passed for, excuse me, right, thank you, Aaron, For the People Act. The For the People Act has been passed in the House of Representatives, as we come on and say every week. It's being stalled and fought in the Senate. But listen, that doesn't mean because it's a hard thing to do that we should give up calling our congressmen and give up trying to tell them we'd like to see this pass. We have other folks who come on the show, but this bill does a lot of great things. And we want to make sure that those things that the bill does, the bill has in it, which is more than what just the HR 4 does, which is the John Lewis Act. It guarantees 2 weeks of early voting. It guarantees a ban on purging the voter rolls and all those things. Take me back for a minute, Aaron, back to HR 1, because I want to just keep repeating this to people. It restores the full protections of the 1965 Voting Rights Act, and making sure that people will have those full protections. Basically, what it does is expands the voting rights access and access to the ballot box uniformly across the country, and make sure that everything is the same and people have unfettered access to the vote. Now, there's other things that you can see that's on here, and I'm not going to go through all of them, but it is important beyond the John Lewis Voting Rights Act that this bill gets passed too. So I don't care how much the folks in the Senate want to argue about it. You call your senator, you call your congressperson, senator, or representative and say, we're still supporting this. We want you to get this done. Okay, let's go on to HR 4. I'm going to talk a little bit about that, which is the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. But this is the key thing that we need to make sure that you also tell your congressperson. You want to tell them about, I am in support of HR 4, which is the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act. It basically puts pre-clearance back in, and that is really the key thing that we want put back into it. The Pre-Clearance Act, if you don't know what that is, simply what that means is any changes to anything having to do with voting, there have to be at least the 180-day rule gets put in place. If it's it has to be done at least 180 days before an election. It has to be cleared by the Department of Justice before it goes into effect. And it basically makes sure that the Pre-Clearance Act is there. And that is what has caused all the voter suppression things I keep saying every week that has been happening all over the country. Those 400 and some odd bills across many different state governments, and everybody trying to do something different or whatever. Let me tell you what that means. Back before the 1965 Voting Rights Act and when pre-clearance was put into place, that's when people could not suppress votes anymore. And the federal government had a right to go in and do something about it because it was a federal law. Things particularly in the African-American community, they would ask you questions about, can you recite the Constitution word for word? Or they would say, how many jelly beans are in this jar? Or just anything they wanted to ask in order, or poll taxes, same thing, anything making you pay to be able to vote. All those sorts of things were things that individual states were doing to suppress the vote for anybody they wanted, but particularly they were pointed towards or directed towards African Americans. And what I want to let you know now, the difference, or the my tongue is getting tangled. I'm going to untangle it. The difference between what was happening back then and what's happening now is voter suppression. For example, instead of the jelly bean thing, which I mentioned to you before, what they're actually doing now is saying, okay, you got 2 million people who are voting in a particular area where we're gonna put the polls so far away people can't get to the polls easily, or we're gonna limit the time that you can actually go vote, or we're gonna say, oh, by the way, there's millions of people that need to vote, or hundreds of thousands of people. We're gonna cut down on the amount of voting machines that are actually at that poll location, if there is a voting location. And then what they do then is basically that makes these really long lines for them. And then they've passed laws for voter suppression saying, well, you can't give people water in line, you can't give them food, you can't do souls to the polls on Sunday, or what, all kind of things, anything they can do to suppress the vote of other people coming out so you can elect the people you want to elect. So call to action. Come on up, Aaron, Brent, come on up. Let me see you on screen. I got to see your face. You know what the call to action time is, right? What's our call to action? Our call to action is what? Call your congressperson and tell them that you support H.R. 1, which is the People's Act. You also support H.R. 4, which is the John Lewis Act. You need to make sure the senators or anyone else who's holding up these things from passing in the law to give all Americans, I don't care whether you're Republican, Democrat, Independent, from Mars, if you're an American citizen and you have the right to vote, you have the right to vote with unfettered access to the poll, period. So make sure that you're doing that. You're saying, well, Mark, you sound like every week you come and say the same thing. Don't you got anything new to say? Nope. I don't have nothing new to say until that gets done. And I'm voting for people on a state level, on a local level, and on a federal level to make sure that this gets done, because voting rights is foundational. Anything else we want to get done, if we can't vote, then we can't get the people in there to get it done. Healthcare, police reform, affordable costs for pharmaceuticals, equity in access to small business contracts. None of that is going to happen if you can't vote your people in. If they stop you from voting, foundational. I want to see it. That is where everything builds from. If you cannot vote, and if the vote wasn't so important, then why are they working so hard to prevent you from voting? That's a question, Aaron.
Listen, they know that our vote has power. They know that when we come together in unity, we can make some things happen. We can change the trajectory and change some narratives. So, of course, they want to impede the progress of, us just coming together. So.
And I know I hear your son in the background. So that's it exactly. And speaking of your son, affordable childcare, infrastructure for human infrastructure, things of that nature, affordable education, physical infrastructure, building up our roads and bridges. All these things intersect, but they all start with your ability to have free and unfettered access to the vote. That is why it is foundational. That is why it's our call to action, that people remember, hey, I need to call my congressman when I get up in the morning, I get started on the day. If I get my coffee from Starbucks, McDonald's, wherever you're going to get it from, if I bring it from home, I don't care. I'm giving these guys free commercials. So anyway, we got to charge them for that. But my point is, on your way to work or on your way, as I do, working from home, make sure on your to-do list is, hey, let me call my local congressperson and let me tell them, listen, I'm supporting the Voting Rights Act, the John Lewis Act, and For the People Act, because we want to make sure everybody has unfettered access. Boom, make the call, be done with it, send an email, whatever you got to do, but do it daily. Just because something's hard doesn't mean it can't get done. And even if someone says it's impossible, of course, everything's impossible until it's done. And they're like, oh, I guess maybe it's not impossible. No, we did it before. We passed the Voting Rights Act. It got done. It got done by some people whom you would think, how did they get that done? We all came together and got it done. That's how we got it done. So get on it. Call to action, Voting Rights Act. I'm going to move on. I'm going to go to the next thing, but I could talk about this for the entire hour because that is the thing that I'm wearing my t-shirt again next week too, Aaron. My voting rights t-shirt. You know, I was at the march. I was there. I've been talking to people about it, and we're doing a rally that's coming up also to get some our statewide candidates and our House of Delegates elected in Virginia. In Virginia, we're practicing voting rights every year because of Virginia, unlike other states. Virginia has elections every year, so we vote all the time. Let's talk. And speaking of Virginia, let's talk a little bit about the general election coming up on November the 2nd, and let's talk about some fantastic things that we have coming up. And even if we start to talk a little bit about that statewide ticket, let's go ahead and show those great-looking faces on our statewide ticket. We've got Terry McAuliffe, who's been governor before, and he's running for governor again in Virginia. And listen, folks, nobody gets you more fired up and ready to go than Terry McAuliffe. And he stays excited, he stays pumped. And listen, you need to get out there and vote now. You need to vote early. You can do that. It's voting early in Virginia. It's happening right now. So go cast your vote and get it out the way. And the beautiful thing about Virginia and voting rights is Democrats control all of the statewide offices. They control the Senate and the House of Delegates and the Lieutenant Governor's office and the Attorney General. And guess who has some of the most unfettered liberal voting laws in the country? It is the state of Virginia, because of you people out there that put the right people in office, where voting is a holiday. Voting can be done by mail. Voting can be done early. Voting can be done many different ways. And there's no unfettered access to voting in Virginia. No polls are being purged in Virginia. So make sure you take one of the many different ways that you can do before November 2nd or either on November 2nd. Take yourself to the poll and bring a family member. Take souls to the polls. I don't care how you want to get it done. And go ahead and cast that vote for Terry McAuliffe for governor. And our first Latino lieutenant governor, Hala Ayala. Yes, Hala Ayala is going to be the next first ever woman and Latino governor, lieutenant governor, excuse me. And Hala's a great person. I've watched her career for a very long time. She's passing great legislation when she was before she was running for governor as a delegate, and she's getting it done, folks. So get out there and support Hala Ayala. And also, we'd love to be able to see the first woman lieutenant governor in the state of Virginia. And last but not least, and not bringing up the rear, but he's been getting it done for 8 years. I know when I met Mark Herring, the current attorney general, and running for attorney general again, he's done fantastic things, from the equal rights amendments to knocking down all kind of crazy things that at the time, before we didn't control certain other houses in Virginia, with trying to force women to do different things with their health that didn't make any sense. Well, Mark Herring's been getting it done here in Virginia as an attorney general. I don't have to, and I can tell you many different things, but go ahead out to his website. And he wouldn't have been elected twice and getting elected again if he hadn't been doing all the work that Virginians want to see him get done. And Mark Herring's a great guy. So come on out and support him. And you know what? The other thing I want to talk about is that we've got a great event coming up here. Aaron, it's called the Casa Tequila, Mi Casa, Su Casa Democrats, which basically is Casa Tequila is a house of tequila, and it's a small business that's in Lorton, Virginia. We're going there to have a free event where there'll be appetizers. We're going to get people fired up because it's going to be a voter rally. We've got people coming out to speak across the statewide ticket and our 5 House of Delegates candidates that are locally here. It's going to be a fantastic event. We're providing all the appetizers, all that good stuff you like. The fajitas, the quesadillas, the chips, and the salsa, fresca, the drink, all the great stuff. We're not buying any alcohol, but we're getting everything else out there for you. And we're going to have some fantastic speakers. Oh, it's going to be off the hook. So make sure you make it out there this Saturday, October the 2nd, from 6 to 8. That's right. You've already done all of your Saturday chores. You've already gotten all your shopping out the way. And now it's time to get something to eat. Come out there with people who are like-minded, who want to get Democrats elected, who want to get those things passed that we want to see happen. And there's going to be nachos too. That's right. There's going to be nachos. There's going to be all kind of stuff. And you'll have some fantastic people out there. It's being supported by a lot of great organizations. Listen, I really want to name some of these organizations. I'm out here trying to do 2 things at once, but I'm going to call out all these people who are supporting this event. And we've got some fantastic people supporting this event. I'm excited about this, Aaron. Let me tell you, we've got the Mount Vernon Democratic Committee. We got the Lead District Democratic Committee, the FCDC Black Caucus. We've got the DPVA, which is the Democratic Party of Virginia Black Caucus. FCDC, by the way, in case you didn't know, is the Fairfax County Democratic Committee, fantastic organization, which is 9 magisterial districts, of which Mount Vernon is one of them. Okay. And we also have the 11th congressional district supporting this, which is Jerry Connolly's district, Democrat. The 8th congressional district supporting this, which is Don Byers' district, Democrat. And the Democratic Latino Organization of Virginia, which is D-Love. Well, hey, D-Love, we're having it at a Mexican place, and Latino folks are coming out supporting this behind this. And also yours, not least, but not important, we're out there doing it through the Virginia Democratic Small Business Caucus. And guess what? If we were doing it online, we'd get you there too, Aaron. We'd have Louisiana Democratic Small Business Caucus.
Most certainly important.
And somebody just reminded me, don't forget about the mango habanero shrimp. You got to get out here and get some of this. It's going to be fantastic. And the speakers, we've got Terry McAuliffe, if he makes it. He hasn't said no yet. Hala, she's not going to make it, but that's okay. She's down south taking care of business. But Mark Herring may or may not come, but we've asked him to come. He hasn't said no. And also we've got Kathy Tran, who will be speaking there. Mark Levine, who's also a delegate, he'll be speaking there. Kathy Tran is our local delegate, by the way, and she's a fantastic person with a fantastic family, been getting a lot of stuff done. And of course, we've invited Paul Krizak, delegate, Mark Sickles. Mark will be there. Mark has been getting it done a long time. And we've also invited Elizabeth Bennett Parker, delegate. And you people are probably saying, Mark Kennedy, who are all these different people? I don't know them. I don't live in Virginia. Trust me, these are fantastic people. And maybe we can tape this or something, Aaron, and just sort of show it to get it done. But we've invited other people there too. The list doesn't stop. We've got wait a minute. We've got State Senator Scott Servell. We've invited State Senator George Barker. We've invited State Senator Adam Eben. We've invited our local supervisor from Mount Vernon, Dan Stork, and Supervisor Rodney Lusk. And did I say Representative Don Byer? Well, I didn't say him, but I did say he is the congressman from that area. We just got a lot of fantastic people, and we'll probably luck out and get some of the statewide candidates. Virginia's a big state, 8 million people, bunch of Democrats. So listen, they're all over the place getting November 2nd ready, but we're really looking forward to this. This is a free event. This is a rally. Mi casa, su casa, Democrats. My house is your house, Democrats. Let's come together. Let's get some of these folks elected again. And there's new people there too that are happening across the state. So we're trying to keep the energy high. Keeping the energy high, keeping people engaged, keeping people excited is what it's all about. Am I right, Aaron?
You got it. Mark, who's invited to attend this event?
I just told you. You didn't hear me? Well, you didn't hear me? Was I on mute or something? Wait a minute, I didn't hear it. You didn't hear me?
I'm playing for the people so that they understand that they are welcome and invited to attend, that they have a role, and that there is
Oh, okay.
value for them to show up and be present.
You know what? You're right, Aaron. I didn't get it at first, but that's why you're here helping me out all the time and adding as our co-host. The most important to attend this event is you. You folks out there need to come on out and make sure that you're here at this event. All those people I just named, they wouldn't be there if it wasn't for you. They wouldn't be there if you weren't the person electing them and putting them in the office so they're supporting the things that you need to get done for your family. So, Aaron, thank you for reminding me. I just got too excited. Just went off the edge. You are the most important person.
You're fired up over there.
I'm fired up, ready to go. Voter rally October 2nd. We're fired up and we are ready to go. I love that saying too. So we'll bring back a little bit of the old 2008 charm back to this. But let me tell you what we've got next to talk about. And the next thing we have to talk about is it's almost at that halfway period. We've got a person who's coming on, and I want to give her plenty of time. And I'm going to slow down for just a second to just say this one thing first, because I do want to say this other than the elections. We want to just talk about the American Rescue Plan real quick. Good things are happening there. We'll have some elected that are coming on soon, and we'll tell you how the American Rescue Plan has been helping out people in Virginia. Virginia got something like $4 billion, and it went to a number of different programs in the state that are helping small businesses. You were talking the Paycheck Protection Program, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, shuttered venue operations, SBA debt relief, and we're also talking about the Restaurant Revitalization Fund. And of course, everybody's been hearing in the news from a federal perspective, which will also roll down to states, is physical and human infrastructure. So if you've been watching the news, the infrastructure plan where small businesses will benefit from this and making sure that everybody gets an equity and piece of that infrastructure resources that are coming down to the state of Virginia and across the country. Final things are happening with that. And once that happens, from the news that I've been looking at, is that they want to make sure that the human infrastructure piece of that, which has more to do with childcare and more to do with things that are infrastructure that are helping people, they want to make sure that gets passed too or gets agreed to at the same time. But we're going to have a special section, a show just on that, because a lot has happened there. And I want to keep everything positive, and we're going to bring you up to date and tell you all the things on basically how that hamburger is being made, and ultimately when it comes out to be a hot burger and everything's on it and you're ready to eat it, we're going to tell you what's going on there. But we're keeping track of that. Now, we need time to talk about this guest. Yes, it's time now, Aaron. It is Mary Payton. Well, we have a fantastic guest who's getting ready to come on. And I just want to tell you a little bit about Mary before we bring her into the studio. Mary Payton has been an advocate for fair and affordable housing, especially in her community here in Fairfax County. She's been a person who's been promoting economic development, and she recognizes the rights of the rights of longstanding communities of colors for that economic development. And particularly, she seeks to benefit those folks who've been displaced in their communities. That's just one of the things that Mary's been doing. Mary's been doing a lot of other things as well. She's also been chair of the Affordable Housing Committee for the Fairfax County NAACP. She's also for and that's for the South County Task Force. And she's also has been serving on several advisory committees for Fairfax County. And those advisory committees include Affordable Housing Advisory Committee, the Manufactured Housing Task Force, the Bus Rapid Transit Service Advisory Committees. I mean, Mary has been absolutely everywhere. I've known Mary ever since I was, I've known Mary for more than 10 years. I want to say too much because it's going to I don't. My mama told me don't talk about age too much, but I've known Mary for a very long time, and she's been doing things here locally in Virginia and across the state for a very long time. Let me tell you what some things that have happened to Mary recently because of all the work she's been doing for a few decades here in this area. More than that, in 2021, she received Hero Awards for the work for advocacy work from the Coalition for Smarter Growth and the Mount Vernon Unitarian Church, and also from the Fairfax County Democratic Committee. That is something everybody votes on and says, who's that one person who's been doing all of this advocacy work in Fairfax County who needs to be recognized because of the level of effort and the impact that she's had in our community. And everyone decided that that was Mary Payton. I am just excited about that. My hat just, I don't usually wear a hat, but listen, my hat almost blew off my head. It could have blown off my head if I had one because I was so excited. It would have fell off anyway because I was jumping up and down saying, yay, Mary deserves this award. She's been putting in the work. She's got receipts. She's gotten things done. And that's what's important. But the last couple of things I want to tell you about her before we bring her on, and she's going to tell you more about her story, the things she cares about, and anything she wants to talk about. Mary's a freelance writer, former journalist. She's got an MS from the University of Michigan, a master's in environmental communication, a BA in journalism from the University of Detroit. I corrected that. University of Michigan, master's, undergraduate, University of Detroit. And she lives locally right here in Mount Vernon in Fairfax County. So without further ado, I want to let you know we've got her coming on screen. Let's have her, Mary Payton. Fantastic.
Thank you, Mark. What an introduction. Wow.
It is good to see you, Mary. And all the
good to see you.
Stuff you've been doing, and now you got this award a week or two ago. I was like, we got to get Mary on the show because she's got stuff other people need to know about. And introduce you to my co-host, Aaron. Go ahead, Mary. Talk to us.
This might be my award. The chair of our committee dropped this off at my house today, and I didn't get an award with my name on it. I just got a mention. So she knows I collect donkeys. So this could be my hero award right here.
There you go. There's your hero award, the Democratic donkey. There you go. Mary, it's just fantastic having you. You've done so much, Mary. It's almost impossible to know where to start. I know I've been on night maneuvers for you, going out, knocking on doors, putting up signs, doing stuff or getting people out to vote. You've done so many fantastic things during the year. I'm not talking about just basically the stuff all the volunteers do. You've done way more than that. So I'm going to sit back and be quiet and let you tell us about you and what you want to talk about.
Okay, thanks, Mark. I actually haven't done too much for the Democrats this year. I've kind of focused more on some of the community groups, the nonprofit groups. I've done a lot with the Democrats over the years, and I've learned a lot of skills in terms of getting people out and just doing that kind of work that a lot of the nonprofit groups don't know. And I've tried to introduce them to some of those skills to get people out when they need to get out. But I've more been working on issues of trying to figure out a new way to develop places. Route 1, as you know, it's the old Route 1 that people drove up and down from Florida to Maine in the 50s, and has all the low budget motels and the drive-ins and the drive-through and the late night DVD stores and all kinds of things. And it's still that way in Fairfax County. And it's now getting primed for redevelopment. And a lot of people in charge would like to redevelop it so it looks like the rest of Fairfax County. And it's kind of high density and it's transit oriented. We're going to have a bus rapid transit down the street, and we're going to have maybe someday some more metro stations, and everything looks good. You know, it's a new kind of development too. It's a transit oriented development, which is good for the environment and, you know, good for people. But what I find out as I look into it more and more is that it's it's just as bad as urban renewal for the people who are getting displaced. It really
Really?
doesn't matter whether you get run off by a big highway or a bus rapid transit. If somebody takes your home away, that's a big problem. And the
Mm.
people who are losing their homes are not necessarily the single family homeowners, but it's the
Hmm.
mobile homeowners who have rather large mobile home parks along Route 1. And that was part of the old culture of the, place to live in a mobile home park and Route 1. And, and it's that way all up and down the coast. But now that we're getting more urban, people want to get rid of the mobile home parks and build tall buildings. Yet the mobile home parks are just now coming into their own as a very good form of affordable housing. That
Hmm.
they're much bigger and they're much
Hmm.
more spacious and agreeable to a family than a little apartment is. But they have a fatal flaw, and that is that the owners don't own the land under them. So the land can be sold out from underneath them, and the mobile homeowners can just be dismissed. The laws are very weak on that. I'm pretty sure they were all written years and years ago by mobile home park owners, because the mobile homeowner gets nothing if they can't move the trailer, which often they can't. After 20 years, sometimes they get out of whack and you can't really move them very easily. They weren't
Hmm.
meant, they don't have wheels. They aren't they're not RVs. They're not supposed to be moved. They move them once from the factory.
Yeah.
You put them down in a mobile home park and that's it. They're supposed to stay there. So we have very, very bad laws that don't protect people who live in mobile homes if the developer decides to sell. And one of the mobile homeowners expressed it as they think we're like trees to be cleared from the land so they can build a new development. And we're not trees, we're families with houses. And
Well,
you know,
Mary, if I can interrupt you for a minute to make sure people understand this is the mobile homes that people have there are not homes that they've rented. They actually own the mobile homes
they
and they're
own the home.
stationary, but they don't own the land. The land
Exactly.
belongs to someone else. And
Exactly.
easily, because of the value of that property and because of the expansion that's happening in this area of Fairfax County, that owner of the land wants to take the money, the bigger money, and get rid of the money that he's currently getting from the mobile home.
Exactly. And currently he's getting a lot of money. He or
Yeah.
she, they're
Mhm.
all very profitable
Right.
because they charge him like $1,000 a month just to sit on the pad, just to park there. And then the owner does provide some trash collection, and they're supposed to provide sewage and water and things like that. But they do get a pretty good profit. They admit
Well,
that.
you
So
know what they say in the hip hop industry, they want more money.
that's
So
right.
it's a question of wanting more money, not that they're not making good money. They want more money. And you've done some things to really help folks in the within Fairfax County to be able who are living there. And tell us a little more about what you were able to get accomplished.
Well, I'll tell you, we brought this up. It's 20, just when the COVID started, we started doing South County Task Force, which is my little
Mhm.
group. It's a 45-year-old group of activist people in the South County area. And we've kind of changed from social services to social justice over the years.
Okay, fantastic.
And one thing we did I thought was really fun was that we would pick a topic that's
Hmm.
relevant in our area. We put
Right.
together a Zoom show and we invited in the biggest experts we could find on the
Hmm.
on the idea. So we had one show on equitable development, on what does that
Hmm.
mean, what does it look like. We had another show on mobile home parks and how could they be made stable, and how could people own the land underneath them, and how could that work. And we brought in the guy from Virginia, mobile home coalition that had just put on a nationwide conference of 2 weeks on mobile
Hmm.
homes. He had all the
Okay.
experts. So we got him and we got a bunch of his experts. And then we also invite local officials, our elected
Oh, okay.
officials. And we also invite local community people. So we have these great Zooms, and we never could have do it in person because we wouldn't be able to get these experts to come down to South County and Fairfax. but we could get them to Zoom with us, and we could connect with them for future meetings, and we could introduce them to our officials who also didn't do that kind of research about these issues. So we did that, and we got a really big response. And then the county had a commission advisory committee going on about the saving the house, not displacing people. They're trying to figure out how not to displace people, how to preserve. And they had a subcommittee of that committee worked on mobile homes. So they came up with a recommendation, and the recommendation was to make another subcommittee, which would further study what to do about mobile homes, because it's very tricky. The law is totally on the side of the owners, but the human rights is awful. It's like throwing people off of their houses. It's just not what they want to do. So they formed this big commission. It's got owners. It's got mobile homeowners, mobile home park owners, all kind of other people from the county. Big committee, and they had a first meeting on Monday night. And most of the people who own the mobile homes are Hispanic, and they speak Spanish. And the county knew that, and they provided all the upfront materials translated, and they translate the meeting. So we start the meeting, and there's no translation. And the mobile homeowners say, "Hey, where's the translation? I can't understand. What are you talking about? I can't hear you." And the county guy says, "Well, we didn't get the translation together for this meeting, but we'll get it for next meeting." And the Spanish people start chatting. He said, "Well, what about this meeting?" And he said, "Well, we're going to send you a transcript or notes. We're going to send you what happened at this meeting." And they said, "Wait a minute, we're on the committee and we want to participate in the meeting. How can we?" And then everybody's chatting and saying, "Hey, we can't do this." Pretty soon the chats were saying, "Hey, close down this meeting. Don't have this meeting. Wait until you close it down." And then some of the people started saying, "I move we close down this meeting until we get translation." And everybody voted yes. The whole committee said, "Close it down."
How are you going to have a meeting with people who don't know the language, and you're telling them something, and you're going to tell them what happened after the fact? They don't get to make comments. They just get to know what happened. That's not right. That ain't right.
So it was discouraging that the county thought it could do that, and that they kind of persisted and said, "Oh, don't worry, we'll send you a report." But it was very heartening to me that the committee stood up and said no. And it gave the mobile home owners more stature on the committee, because I think the county was not giving them stature if they were not translating for them. So I thought that was a step forward. So anyway, committees are going on, but we don't know how those are going to turn out. And it's on the country. It's not just here. Things are going on a lot of places, and a lot of places have figured out that you can get a mortgage on a mobile home park. That HUD backs a mortgage. If you get a bank loan to buy a mobile home park, it'll be backed by HUD. And people are doing that, and they're getting it, and they're turning these into very nice places. Actually, they're getting them fixed up, and everybody has an ownership stake in them, and then they can get conventional loans. They don't have to pay high interest rates, and they can have a nice place to live. And I don't have a problem with mixing up some fancy transit-oriented development with a very nice looking mobile home settlement. It's about the same as the townhouses across the street. It's about the same density as that. It's not a low density. They're very close together.
Right.
So I don't know why we can't mix up some of these things, why we have to have development that all looks alike and is all high density. This particular home is outside of the high transit area. It's not at one of the stations.
Well, and it really homes typically, Mary, don't they typically have more room than an apartment or something like that? People have a room for a garden place to park their cars. I mean, it's
absolutely
it's closer to townhomes than it is, apartments. Apartments are kind of tough to live in,
Absolutely. They want to. The kids all play. Some of the streets are dead end, and the kids all play out in the streets. It's a real good community. This one we're working with, the parents all watch each other kids, and they do things for each other. And community is a really important thing to foster. You know,
So
a lot
what
of
was
neighborhoods don't
I was
have
going to ask.
community.
Yeah, you're right about that. But I was going to ask you, what was the upshoot? And I got to turn my phone down here. What was the upshoot that happened recently with them? Though I think you were going to get to that. Ultimately, they've been given more time, right? And the county.
They have been given more time. We protest. We got them to come. There was a movement to put their mobile home park up for upzoning so that the owner could sell it for more money and build higher density buildings on it. And these people have been organized over and over, and they know how to organize. And so we got them together, and they just did a fantastic job of showing up at all these meetings and telling their stories and videotaping their stories and sending them in and saying, you know, this is who we are. We live here. We want to find a way to stay here. We don't want to live in an apartment. Why can't we figure out a way to keep our community here? And, you know, let this thing go. Don't upzone it. Don't develop it. Give us some time. Let us see if we can't get something going. And the county decided to hold off on the upzoning possibility until after all these committees and subcommittees finish their work. So they'll never finish if they don't bring in a translator, because we're going to shut that down.
Well, I think Fairfax County can afford a translator. And here's a smooth transition, or as smooth as I'm going to try and make it. There also is a question, and we're talking local things here in Fairfax County in the Mount Vernon district. There's also a 13 lane or a highway or something that's coming through that may possibly displace small businesses and things of that nature in this area. I know you've been following that, and you're sitting on all these advisory committees. What sort of information can you provide us about that? Maybe from an impact of small business and, you know, even people's homes. I don't know. I know you know a lot about this.
Well, the city, the county, and the state are trying to improve this area, right? So the county came up with a plan that is a kind of Main Street transit-friendly development, where they wanted to put in a bus rapid transit, bus station, you know, high density around the station, bike path, pedestrian path all the way up and down the streets. And make it like a main street. And people would come here. It'd be like a destination. You have small businesses would get more business, etc. If they could afford to live here, they could get more business. And the state came in and they said, no, the Richmond Highway is a highway. It's a state highway, and it's got to be big and broad and fast. And it might have to evacuate Washington on this road someday. So we got to make it big. So they added a bunch of lanes to it, and they didn't take away any of the turning lanes. They just added lanes. And suddenly the people started looking at the maps that were put up online, and they realized that some of the intersections were like 11 to 13 lanes wide. So that's almost like going across a football field when you went across the street. It's a large distance. And already Route 1 is one of the worst streets in the whole state for pedestrian crashes. It's very scary to try to cross Route 1, and there aren't very many crosswalks. Many places you have to walk a half a mile just to get to a crosswalk, and then walk across the street, and then walk back a half a mile to get, you know, to where you wanted to go. Okay. So these two visions of development were just totally in contrast to each other. They were not going to work out, and yet the county was going along with the state, and the state was going along with itself, and they were both getting planned until a bunch of different citizen groups took a look at it and said, no, wait a minute, you can't do this. And people started writing letters and coming together and sharing information, and we helped facilitate some of that. And then one of the groups, Gum Springs Civic Association, recalled that 50 years ago they had staged a demonstration right at the corner where the 13 lanes were going to be before traffic light. They didn't even have a traffic light then. Wow, and one of the one of the members was a small business owner. He owned the local funeral home in Alexandria, local black funeral home, and the other one owned the local apartment building that was right on Route 1.
Okay.
And so they got together and they rustled up a demonstration, and the funeral director brought out a couple coffins. And
Really?
they pushed those across the street, and they put them right in the middle of the street, and they stopped the traffic. And they said, "This is a deadly street, and we were symbolized that by these coffins we're putting out here. And you people need to give us a traffic light because our people are dying out here." And so 50 years later, the funeral guy's son now owns the funeral department. He inherited it. He runs that business, and the apartment owner's son now runs the apartment building. Okay. So they got together again. 50 years later, they brought out a coffin. We brought out a whole bunch of people, and we told all the news media about it. And a lot of came. We got a couple TV people and a lot of good coverage in the Post and different places. We rolled that coffin across the street, and everybody filed behind it. And we had people in walkers and bicycles and on foot, and little kids, and everybody carrying signs. And we went to the other side, and then we canned some stuff, and then we turned around and we rolled everything back across the street. And we had a lot of speeches, and everybody promised that they would make it a main street. All the politicians and all the traffic people said, yes, this should be a safe main street. And then later we had a meeting. Gum Springs had a meeting with all the transportation guys. I've never seen so many transportation people at a meeting. They had county people and state people, and they were trying to figure out how they could make it better and narrower, and they were making some concessions, and they were hanging tough on other things. And we had a deputy county executive there too, and it went on till about 9:45. And so, but they were very engaged, and they got the message that this needs to be a narrower, safer road. Okay. So we're still working with them, but we got their attention. Definitely got their attention.
Well, it sounds as though that's the reason why you won the FCDC 2021 Hero recipient.
Well, I wasn't responsible. That was Jim Shiver and Nathan Green, that Nathaniel Green, that pulled that off. But I was definitely supportive of it and helped publicize it, encourage it.
You have got to tell the people that represent us. You have to organize your community. You've been doing this for a long time. That's just one great recent story. The reason why you've been able to do all you've been able to get accomplished these years. Mary, if you were going to tell us one of your most favorite or memorable activities you've done in your career as a Democrat and activist, what would that be? It's hard to top this last story.
I know. I'm thinking, wow, that was a good one. I really enjoyed that. I don't know. Now these groups I'm with, are nonprofit. Now I keep calling. Everybody knows I'm a Democrat, so it's no secret. But yeah. I don't work with the groups as a Democrat. Because I feel that coalition building is really important. Really, yes. The secret to getting things done. And so I'm in coalitions where people don't like Democrats, but it's still important to, have people together on certain issues. Coalitions gather around a particular issue to get it done, and then they can go their separate ways afterwards and do what they like. Boy, I don't know. That one was so much fun.
One of the other things that you didn't mention, I was just thinking about it, when this highway broadens, you were mentioning there may be some displacement of small business. Did they begin to talk about any of that at all, or do you
well, to broaden the highway, they are taking out some businesses, some churches. A very popular black church is having to move, the AME, First AME.
Okay.
And they're having a really hard time finding another place because the property values are all going way up along Route 1, and people are buying them and holding them, just holding them until, so the church, the smaller business, people who get displaced won't be able to afford to buy land that's still in that location.
Right.
And the people who did the economic study on Route 1 even admit in their report, they say it will be very difficult for the businesses that have been displaced, whether they're displaced by the road or whether they're displaced in simply by selling because they can get more money for the land.
Right.
You know, a lot of them might sell and retire, but for a comparable small business to come in, they probably won't be able to afford the rents in the new buildings.
One of the things they may want to think about doing, well, the government may want to put in some incubators or some areas where small business that are for small businesses specifically that have been displaced, where they can be in a part of a new piece of thing that's being built there. So all that's important. So hopefully, you know,
well, nobody's talking about that. Nobody's they're talking about, you know, private property and making money and attracting development and getting big developers to come in from somewhere else. They see the savior of Route 1 are developers from outside.
Well, they also want to put the new metro coming in there, the subway station and all that, right? That they need to have larger lanes of traffic. I'm not really an expert on this issue, but I heard that may have been part of what's pushing this as well, right?
Well, VDOT admitted when they did the traffic study for Route 1 in the 13 lane area that they did not consider the effect of the BRT would have on car traffic. Now, the whole point of the county building the BRT is to reduce the car traffic so that people have mass transit. It's a commuter thing. It's from Fort Belvoir to the Huntington Metro. And that's a very heavy commuting route and puts a lot of traffic on Route 1. Right. And along there, you're getting anybody to the metro. That's the commuting route. So the whole point of building this.
There's no metro in South County, down in the Fort Belvoir area, down towards before you get to the end of the county in Lorton. There's no metro. So maybe that is what's being planned. I don't know. Have you got any knowledge of that?
Well, they put in a future plan metro stops at Beacon Mall and Hybla Valley, but that'll be long after we've left this earth that'll happen. So in the meantime, they have the BRT, which is pretty fast, and you can get on it at the Huntington Metro and you can ride to Fort Belvoir.
Okay. So there's going to be bus lanes, rapid traffic lanes for buses and things like that.
Yeah, special lane right down the middle. It's going to be like a subway in that you get on it at platform level. You don't climb into it at the curb. You opens doors. It has signs and everything, and it has limited stops so that you don't. It's not like a bus that stops every couple blocks. So they will still have that, but this is a commuter thing.
Well, hopefully there'll be some equity there for small business and African American, Latino-owned business. Everybody gets a chance to get part of that expansion and economic growth of small businesses. That equity is important. Hey, Mary, we've got about 2 minutes left, and I want to ask you, what is your personal pet project thing that you really want to talk about? And then I want to ask you to maybe give out some social media handles and tell us, how people can contact you if they need to get to you. Go right ahead.
Yeah, well, my personal thing is to invent or propagate this new way of equitable or human-faced development that I'm learning about. I haven't seen it done anywhere, but I wish it could get done here. And I guess I give you my email. It's marypayden@gmail.com, and I'll put you on our mailing list of the South County Task Force newsletter. And we do have a Facebook page.
So give your email out again, Mary. So what did you say the email is if people want to contact you?
Mary.Payden@gmail.com.
Okay. And you were going to say the other thing. You said a Facebook.
Yeah, if you go look for South County Task Force on Facebook.
South County Task Force. just put that in the search bar, and that'll bring up the different organizations.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. And then another one that I work with is venturesincommunity.org. And that one has information on the homeless shelter that we're also trying to promote.
Okay. Okay, so we got all three of those. So this is being recorded so people can pick those up anytime, Mary. You've done a whole lot. Just anything else you want to tell us as we hit the 8 o'clock hour? Go on and tell us anything else you'd like for us to know, although it's been great talking to you.
Yeah, well, just get out there. Everybody get out there. Protect your vote, and get active in your community. It's important. You can do it. You have power. You don't have to be given power. You have it already. Just go out and exercise it.
That's
organize.
Right. There's some good ideas that Mary gave you to being involved, being on task force, to being active, drag a casket in the middle of the road to get it done if you have to. Mary, it's been fantastic talking to you. And she is the hero recipient for 2021 for Unitarian Church for Fairfax County and one other organization. Mary, you've done a fantastic job. So, you are loved. There's no question about that. So, and let me start my music here as we end the show.
Okay, thank you, Mark. It was fun.
Stay here for a minute with us. You got to hear this.
Okay.
Thank you, Mary Payton, for being with us. And next week on the VADSBC show, we're going to have other folks. And Mary, we got to have you back. We love having you. Take care. We'll see you next time around. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.